Hello, folks. This is Steve AB4L. I'm going to be doing a little brainstorming, but this is organized. I did the mind wandering part to research this. In an earlier video episode, I was on Slashdot, and as I was reading down through the articles, I found one that caught my eye. And it's gene editing makes bacteria killing viruses even more deadly. And I went into a long mind wandering, pulling things out, going back 100 years. Now, this was originally from another website. That was an abstract of some of what's in this article. And down here at the bottom, this article is a discussion of this other article. It's a science paper, and they have a link to it. It was in Nature Biotechnology 2023, and it referred to this. And in looking at this, I was interested in a couple of people, but one in particular. This person right here, the second author. Now there's a disclaimer here that says the first 8 authors all contributed about the same amount to this research effort that they published. And if you click on it, this website does this. So you can see the person's name a little bit better, and I was puzzled as to who that might be. Now, this is a researcher currently employed at a biotechnology research company in Denmark. But in looking at that person's name, it occurred to me that that person was not Danish. And half of the people listed as authors don't have names that appear to be Danish. Well, that's not unusual in the world of modern research, international research. Sometimes there's scientists that have immigrated to your country, and sometimes the paper is a cooperation between scientists in multiple countries. And the name is unique enough that Google search immediately knows who it is. And she even has a YouTube channel. All the way back in 2007. Talk about cutting edge, but she's only got 2 videos and 3 subscribers. So it wasn't her main thing. Not like me, right? Well, the Google search also can lead you to a LinkedIn article. It's the same gal, same picture. So she's used that picture to update her YouTube channel, even though the YouTube, I'm guessing she looked different years ago when they didn't have your picture on the YouTube channel. And she's employed, as I said, at that private company in Copenhagen, Denmark. And one of the things I noticed in that other video, I always like to go and look at what their languages are. And I had to use the Google Translate and she has professional use of English, but she has rudimentary Danish. And what we learned from her LinkedIn is that she's actually Lithuanian, not Danish, which explains her name, not looking like it's a Danish name. And how would I know that? DZ? Danish names have DZ in them? And here we have diacritical marks. There's a dot over the E. That's not Danish. It's not a Scandinavian script letter. And this one here, those are clues. So I wasn't surprised when I found out that she grew up in, we can easily presume that she grew up in Lithuania, which is just a swim away from Denmark, which I kind of made fun about. And she's got a PhD from the University of Copenhagen. But she doesn't list Lithuanian as one of her languages. I said that means she's not going home. She has rudimentary Danish, according to her own self-classification. And she has professional usage of English. And at that point, since she got a PhD from the University of Copenhagen, I asked out loud, how did she get a PhD from University of Copenhagen without really knowing Danish? Now, that wasn't an attack question. And it's the reason why I'm doing this. I'm going to answer the question. Now, in the near future, all of you believe that you're going to be able to find answers to deep, trivial questions like this with those AI things as part of the Bing search and the Google search. But I'm ahead of it. I could figure it out on my own. I love the search engines. And I love the Street View and the satellite maps and a whole lot of things that are available on the web. Just sitting right here using my browser. So I just asked Google search to help me get to the University of Copenhagen website. And there's their homepage. And if you can read it up top, you can see it's in Danish. Have I ever had any Danish friends? In Israel, yes. A couple of different ones. One guy named Freddie. He was the first one I met. So you can see how they spell it in Danish. There's a diacritical there with an open circle, but the gal's name was with a closed circle over the E. It's not the same thing. That's a modifier of the pronunciation of the A in the use in that word. Well, if you look here, you can see that, now you notice they use the British flag. If you want to, you can click on this and you can get it in English. So here it is in English. And you notice that on this page, you can get it in Dansk, Danish. But you notice they're not offering any other languages? There's no drop down offering it in like Hindi or Spanish or Italian or Gaelic or French or Russian or Swedish. They're only offering it in two languages, English and Danish. Pay attention. That's a clue. So they have a beautiful website. Wouldn't you like to be there? This is their campus. That must be their library. I'm pretty sure it's the campus because the buildings are old. Have I ever been in Copenhagen? Yes, for a day and a half. Oh, look at this. Research with an impact. Now, I didn't know this before. Gut microbiome, your baby's gut is crawling with unknown viruses. Babies tumble about with more than 200 previously unknown viral families within their intestines. I didn't notice that. I just noticed it as I'm talking to you. Oh, that fits in with what that research paper was about. Do you think this might be one of the things that they emphasize on this campus? In some of the... Look at this here. Poisonous birds. Researchers discover birds with neurotoxic laden. An expedition into the jungle of New Guinea. You know where that is, right? Near Indonesia, near the Philippines, in the Pacific, has resulted in the discovery of 2 new species of poisonous birds. But obviously from the lead-in they mean, do they mean that the feathers are something, or if you eat them, you die from a neurotoxin? I'll have to pursue that. That sounds interesting. But look at the way they're beating their chest. A world-class research university. This is the University of Copenhagen. Driven by intellectual creativity and critical thinking since 1479. Researchers and students at the University of Copenhagen have expanded horizons and contribution to moving the world forward with its 5,000 researchers. And 37,500 students. That's pretty big. The university boasts an international research and study environment and is highly ranked amongst the world's best universities. I think it was over a year ago, I published an episode about a research paper. I think the researcher was at the University of Copenhagen, but it was either published like in a Norwegian journal, or it was the Norwegian researcher publishing in cooperation with the University of Copenhagen. It may have been. And the reason why it caught my attention is that the research was what was known as burst exercise. You do anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes of vigorous exercise at a random time each day. You don't go to a gym. You don't have workout in a class somewhere. You don't go to the YMCA once a week or every day. You have your own. The research was not immediately said not interested in talking about people from 60 and younger. We already know that burst exercise daily has no effect on younger people. We're interested in studying people 70 and older. And the research paper said there was a significant outcomes. That means how long you lived compared to those who didn't do it. And it was a large study. They were able to get people to volunteer for it over like a 10-year period that admitted that they never exercised against a cohort that had burst exercise each day. And it wasn't that they had to follow a particular regime. It's whatever you do, but you have to do it every day, and you have to really do it for 15 to 20 minutes, no more. That's what I do when I go for my heart health climb, like I did yesterday, to Riverside Park to climb the hill, to reach the top out of breath. Go back down and do it again by a different route, pushing myself hard enough that I'm out of breath, and then go back to the car. And it's between 15 and 20 minutes. And I've kept up at it because of the research paper that somehow was connected to the University of Copenhagen. Now, I wandered off, but this is not the first time I've had some kind of contact with these people, and they are world class. $5,867 graduated last year, 13,000 scientific papers published each year, 33 Olympic medals from people who were alumni, 6 Beth's University in Europe, 10 scientists from here have won Nobel Prizes. This is a world-class organization. So down here at the bottom, back to what we're after, I was interested to find out what their PhD degree requirements are, because the gal we're talking about said she barely knows any real Danish. It probably means she can't write poetry in Danish. But she's publishing in English. So over here, University of Copenhagen, management, administration, faculties, departments, research centers. So I started clicking. And I found that you can what are the faculties? Health and Medical Sciences, Humanities, Faculty of Law, Faculty of Science, Faculty of Social Sciences, Faculty of Theology. I'll bet you the Theology Department was the first one, way back in 14, what was it? And this is the home. American universities arrange themselves this way online also. Incredible bacterium can transfer its genes into plants and give them superpowers. Actually, I know how they're doing that, and I knew one of the original researchers from the 1980s. One of whom who led that group moved to North Carolina. I've made videos about that. So when I did some more research in here, one of the things I wanted to find out about, well, you see, they have about research. And then they have doctoral theses, guide for future doctors and assessors. The doctors are the people who will get the PhD, Doctor of Philosophy, and the assessors are those who evaluate them to say the research is worthy of conferring the degree. And Faculty of Science Guide for author of doctoral theses. They have various things, and what I found was on this page, they have checked the legislation and regulations that apply to PhDs at the University of Copenhagen. You see the PhD process, tips for studying abroad, what to think about when planning a study tour abroad in connection with a PhD. Do they mean a Danish student going abroad, or do they mean like an American student going to the University of Copenhagen? Well, the University of Copenhagen's common PhD regulations and guidelines. And then there's one here that's common PhD regulations and guidelines. And here's the document. And thanks to the web, I can read it right here on my computer. Now, what I did is I showed you how I got to here, because I had a question in my mind. That gal, who looks like she's really smart, in a cutting-edge company headquartered in Copenhagen, claims not to know much Danish, and she's Lithuanian. And you kind of get the hint that for some reason a person would emphasize, instead of learning Danish, they would learn English or be good at English. Why? Common rules and guidelines for the PhD program, notice they spell it the Brit way, at the University of Copenhagen, adopted 8 August 2022. This is up to date, folks. So as I began scrolling down, searching, introduction, these are the general rules and guidelines for PhD program at the University of Copenhagen, lay down supplementary internal rules concerning admission, organization of the program, appointment of the principal supervisor, and any additional supervisors, supervision of the PhD student, as well as the writing, submission, and defense of the PhD thesis, etc., etc. Pardon my frog. So I started to read. The University of Copenhagen runs PhD programs in the subject area in which the university conducts research, and there's 6 of them, remember we went over them, and has the authority to decide who to admit, in addition to the rules set out for those. In those rules, applications for enrollment are subject to the rules and procedures of each PhD school, and we're concerned with the School of Faculty of Science, not religion. Religion might be very different. Well, it's the usual thing. What do you want to do? What do you want to do your research on? And who are you? Give us a quick VT. Have you published anything? Oh, do you have a diploma? Have you finished a bachelor's degree or something somewhere? Now, she got a master's degree at the University of Copenhagen, so she was already there. And as a matter of fact, the University of Copenhagen, the way they work it is like some do in the States. They actually accept people with the intention of having them go for a PhD, but first they have to complete a master's degree. That's a requirement in order to be in the pre-doctoral program. And as someone said in the biochemistry department at the University of Massachusetts at Amherst, if after a year or two we don't think they're going to really be the right kind of person for a doctoral program, we push them out the door with a master's degree and a thesis. But then we get to the part I want to talk about. I'm going to read it to you. Let's see if I can make it a little bit bigger so you can read it too. Each faculty can decide to stipulate additional requirements for the applications. Page 9. Non-Danish diplomas not in, now listen to the way they word this, non-Danish diplomas, they mean Bachelor of Science or Master's degrees, not in Norwegian, that's an adjacent country, so to speak, Swedish, that's a Scandinavian country, German, that's next to Denmark, French, that's sort of next to Denmark, English, yeah, the UK is sort of near Denmark. If it's not in one of those languages, notice they don't mention Italian or Czech or Ukrainian. So if it's not in one of those languages, then, thinking of those others, must usually be accompanied by a certified official translation into Danish or English and by an official description of the grading scale used unless the faculty concerned has stipulated different requirements. It might very well be that if you had a degree from the University of Seoul or from one of the IIT universities in India, oh, wait a minute, that would be in English anyway. The one from Japan, they might say, oh, we know those people. We're not worried about it. But there could be a lot of lesser known schools in some place like Ukraine. If the examination that qualifies the student for the PhD program is from a non-Danish institution, the faculty can obtain an assessment from blah, 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 blah. So they're saying that there's a mechanism for accepting a lot of foreign students coming for PhDs. And why would they go there? Because it's an important research institution. It may be a little country, but apparently their productivity puts them up at the top 10, so to speak. So they have to be international. See the Assessment for Foreign Qualifications Act. Okay. The faculty must be able to, what happened here? I hit an arrow key and they gave me trouble. Let's get back on. Why doesn't it behave? Why doesn't it have some artificial intelligence to work with me to control this? The faculties must be able to document that the admitted, now here's the key paragraph. The faculties must be able to document that admitted PhD students have sufficient The faculties must be able to document that admitted PhD students, they didn't say foreign PhD students, they said PhD students, Danish and others. This is not for foreign students alone. This is for anyone coming to them to ask to be in a PhD program, Danish or otherwise. That admitted PhD students have sufficient English language skills. They didn't say Danish. They said English language skills. A sufficient level corresponds to at least a B2 level, higher intermediate. That's the description the gal gave for her English, but not for her Danish. In the common European framework of reference for languages, this can be ensured, for example, through a test or proof, an English language master's degree. Well, then this implies that these rules also apply for a master's degree at the University of Copenhagen, and she got a master's degree at the University of Copenhagen. So she was already qualified with her English proficiency level from Lithuania. But wait a minute. There's a little bit. Why does it keep doing that? The reason is if I move it with the clicking it over on the tab there, when I use the down key to try to move it, it's remembering to go to the next page. That's what it knows. I need some AI to help me. I'm too dumb. Each faculty must have a documented process for assessing the English level of PhD applicants in an application process. Look at it. It's a sentence in a paragraph by itself. At the time of enrollment, and I noticed that they spell it with only one L, and this is not the only place where they do it. And it gets corrected here in the Oxford Dictionary online to two L's. I noticed that before. The applicant must normally hold an academically relevant master's degree or be able to document equivalent qualifications, i.e. degrees from a university abroad. Each faculty is free to decide whether it will allow enrollment in a PhD program while the student concerned is still studying for the master's degree. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So the question I had to do with this person, who was one of the co-authors on the original paper that was abstracted into /dot. And because it, as I do like with all of those hackers, and I look at the Israeli companies that are, and they found this hack and they found that hack, and then I go in and see what kind of backgrounds the people in those companies have, because they're happy to show you who they are and what their names are. And she got her PhD from this university. She got a master. Oh, I got that wrong. I'm sorry. She got a. Oh, I said she had already got a master's degree. Oh, excuse me. I said my mistake. I thought she got a master's degree along the way at the. No. She got it in Vilna, the University of Vilna, in Lithuania. She got that proves she's Lithuanian. But to get into this program, she had to be not proficient in Danish, but in what language? English. Why? This is coming to the end. Why? If you were in a leading edge of science research in the year 1890, let's say chemistry, what language would you have to know to do a PhD in the United States? In addition to English. German. Because they were the world's leader in that area, and in physics, and in engineering, and in chemistry. And there were many advanced degree PhD programs in the United States up through the 50s that required you to show that you had taken a course in German and you could pass a German reading facility test. So this is no different, except that German has been displaced. And as big as the research going on in China is, they're isolated from the rest of the world. And if they want to be known, they get their stuff translated and republished in Western English language journals. And they are number one, number two, back and forth in the number of patents filed with the United States Patent Office in English. Because most of the world hasn't bothered yet to learn Mandarin, whether to speak it or to read it. I'm just giving you some context of the current moment, what goes on in the world. If you believe that your research is important, no matter where you are doing it, no matter what language you think in, if you want it to be known and recognized, it has to be published in English, scientific English. Gene editing makes bacteria-killing viruses even more deadly. researchers at the University of Copenhagen, published in a British world-class journal in English. And not all of their, I went and looked at their website of the company. I call them semi-international. You should read the article, go to the, I'll show it to you right now. They have a beautiful website too. Here's their website. I do this for the IT companies. Click on team. Let's quickly scroll down the team. Management. German or Danish name. Portuguese or Spanish name. Dutch name. I'm not sure, but not Danish. Not Danish. She has a Spanish name or American name. He might be Danish or he might be Swedish. Bayer, German. Oh, there she is, the Lithuanian, the gal in red, the Lithuanian. That guy is probably Danish. This guy, Hungarian. She could be Danish, she could be Swedish, based on the name. This gal here, probably Turkish. That's a guess. She's probably Turkish or Romanian. Lev Koval, he may be Danish, but he has a Jewish name. She's probably Danish. Very international. Sounds like an American company. Bjorn, Danish. French, no picture, French. Tina Beard, I would say English, especially from the expression on her face. British. Camelia Christensen, probably Danish. Marina Chikova, I'm almost sure she's got some Ukrainian or Russian in her. Chikova, yeah. Rasmussen, probably Danish. Scandinavian. Ricardo Pascal, Spanish, Brazilian, Portuguese. Scandinavian. Alice Troy, I'm guessing she's American. The next one is probably Danish. Mette Grove, maybe German. Frida, she's probably also Danish. I'm guessing that guy probably is German. Danish. Scandinavian. El Meti, he could have been born in Denmark, but his family's from somewhere else. Fatima, Nareem Fatima, somewhere in the Middle East. Danish. Nikolina Dominikova, she's somewhere in Eastern Europe. This is not surprising. These people are being hired out of the University of Copenhagen. They're coming from all kinds of places, especially further east in Europe, to get a world-class science education. She's got some kind of Portuguese or Spanish name. Scandinavian. Oh, this guy is as Greek as you can get. Ioannis Mougiakos. He's Greek. That doesn't mean he isn't a Danish citizen. I don't know. But we're talking about the name origins of this company in Copenhagen. And I like their team. They've got a really good team here. Oh, Scientific Advisory Board. Let's see who's advising them. George Church, Professor of Genetics, Harvard Medical School. Harris Wang, PhD, Assistant Professor of Systems Biology, Columbia University. He could be American-born, especially with Harris as his first name. Peter Turnbow, University of San Francisco School of Medicine. Joe, I can't say it, Principal Investigator, Bacterial Immunology, University of California, San Francisco. Federico Mingzozzi, Chief Scientific Officer, Spark Therapeutics, Philadelphia. Do you think he was born in Philadelphia? He might have. There's a big Italian section in Philadelphia. All right? English can take you a lot of places. Steve A. before you. Just brainstorming this to answer the question when I saw her LinkedIn profile. How could you get a PhD at the University of Copenhagen where you're claiming you can barely speak Danish? And we have the answer. We have an international answer. Steve A. before you, just having fun and learning, brainstorming, saying, break the problem into smaller parts in order to come up with the big answer. Saying, see you in 73.